You're watching The Legal Breakdown. Glenn, it looks like poetic justice still exists to some degree because Donald Trump's big lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, $10 billion, was filed in court in southern Florida, clearly in an effort to go after Judge Aileen Cannon as the judge to be appointed in that case. Wasn't exactly what happened here. Can you explain the surprising result down in Florida?
Yeah, Brian, we'll take any kind of justice we can, poetic or otherwise. I would actually, file this under the heading of karma is still alive and well. Donald Trump sues the Wall Street Journal for something like $11 bazillion, which is just laughable in the first instance, claiming that they basically defamed him when they published an article about how he allegedly wrote a letter, a birthday card of sorts, to, his good friend, Jeffrey Epstein. And on the letter, there is a sort of an outline of a naked woman that he allegedly drew. And of course, he said, no, fake news. And the Wall Street Journal, not surprisingly, is sticking by its story and its sources. And so Donald Trump filed a suit in federal court in southern Florida. Why do we think he filed it in southern Florida? Maybe he was hoping to get his favorite judge, Aileen Cannon. But this is where karma comes in, because the case was just assigned to a judge named Darren Gales. Who is Darren Gales? Well, Judge Gales presided over an earlier Trump lawsuit where he sued his former attorney and so-called former fixer, Michael Cohen, for $500 million for allegedly violating, the attorney-client relationship and earning money off of Donald Trump's name. Donald Trump files this suit. And right before Donald Trump is scheduled to be put under oath, to have to answer questions, to get grilled about this lawsuit that he brought, what does he do? He abandons his suit. He gives up. So, when it comes time to put up or shut up, Donald Trump gives up, which I have to go to the phrase that's been used about Donald Trump a lot recently, taco Trump always chickens out. I mean, that's like a full 3 taco combo meal right there, with Donald Trump abandoning his own lawsuit on the eve of having to testify and actually present proof that, what he was saying, warranted a judgment in his favor. Well, now Judge Gales has been assigned as the presiding judge over the Wall Street Journal defamation suit. And I can't believe, Brian, that there's anybody out there who thinks Donald Trump won't abandon this suit as well before discovery rolls round, before deposition time rolls round again. But, Judge Gales has seen the Donald Trump show up close and personal in court. And if any judge has Donald Trump's number, it's Judge Darren Gales.
Is there any way that Trump could appeal for a different judge within the federal court circuit, within the district court circuit?
Yeah, it's a great question. He can't appeal, but what he can do, and frankly, what I expect him to do, is file some kind of a half-assed motion. It might actually be a full-assed motion, saying, wait a minute, this judge is not only deranged, but he is biased against me. Yeah, that's right, because he presided over this earlier case. But here's the thing. It's not as if Judge Gales was entering all kinds of judgments against Donald Trump. Judge Gales set a discovery schedule, and when it was time for Donald Trump to be deposed, which is exactly what happens in every civil lawsuit, he quit the program because he knew he didn't have the goods. So I don't think he will have a straight-faced argument to make that Judge Gales will be biased against him. But you know what he'll do? He'll start calling him names. He may even file such a motion, hoping to create so much animosity that, maybe Judge Gales will, consider recusing himself from the case. I think that extraordinarily unlikely, because I've seen defendants, I've seen litigants try to manipulate the system, sort of conflict their way into a different judge or a different result, and the system does not take kindly to that kind of gamesmanship. So Donald Trump can try to get Judge Gales off his case and get another judge assigned. I don't think there's a chance in hell it will happen.
So clearly Trump has a vested interest in trying to get this judge off his case. The judge will not, we'll be able to see through Trump's games. But who is the only other arbiter of whether or not the judge can be kicked off? Is that going to be if Trump tries to appeal to the circuit court to try and have this current judge, Judge Gales, recused?
Yeah, but it's typically not an appealable issue. If a judge rules that he or she is not conflicted out, that's generally not an appealable issue.
Okay.
It may be that an appeals court could exercise discretion in a really outrageous case where, for example, a judge really should have recused himself or herself, but I think it very unlikely. And when this thing if this thing actually goes to discovery or moves beyond the discovery phase, Donald Trump has already been caught red-handed saying things like, and I quote, because this is from a social media post by Donald Trump, "I don't draw pictures." That's Donald Trump's alibi. That's his defense. So let me just share with our viewers the recent New York Times headline, quote, "Trump says he doesn't draw pictures, but many of his sketches sold at auction." And can I just read for the viewers a quote from Donald Trump himself? After his defense, in part in the Wall Street Journal cases, "I don't draw pictures." This is a quote from Donald Trump's book authored in 2008. Quote, "It takes me a few minutes to draw something. In my case, it's usually a building or a cityscape of skyscrapers, and then sign my name," he wrote in his 2008 book, which ironically is titled, "Trump, Never Give Up: How I Turn My Biggest Challenges into Success." Well, it seems like Trump always gives up, and he's going to be really hard-pressed to use the defense, "I don't draw pictures," when he wrote in his own book, "I draw pictures."
Right. And so now he's kind of moving forward with an already doomed effort. I mean, the Wall Street Journal presumably would not have published the story knowing full well that even within the reporting was a promise, a threat by Donald Trump that he would pursue litigation against them if they did go ahead and publish it. So they knew that this was happening. That's how certain they had to be of the facts that they relied upon when they were writing the story. And yet the fact that they still opted to publish anyway should give us some idea of how much credibility they have in their own sourcing and their own reporting. So he doesn't have a leg to stand on there. And then even in his effort to try and judge shop down in southern Florida, hoping beyond hope that he would get Judge Aileen Cannon, he was instead handed another judge who's not going to kowtow to him, who's not going to just hand him a win on a silver platter like Cannon would have done. And so at this point, is there any glimmer of light, any sparkle of hope for Donald Trump in this case, knowing that the judge isn't going to be in his pocket and knowing that the case certainly seems a far cry from any type of decisive victory?
Yeah, there is zero hope, and the only remaining question is, how soon will Donald Trump abandon this case exactly as he abandoned the lawsuit he brought against Michael Cohen? But here's where I think there is a little bit of a point of light that we should hold on to. I hope that Judge Gales, if Donald Trump abandons this suit as well, immediately raises the issue of sanctioning his lawyer. Mind you, it's the same lawyer who represented him in the Michael Cohen case that just brought this largely frivolous lawsuit involving the Wall Street Journal. And I hope that they take up the issue of whether Donald Trump should be made to pay all of the Wall Street Journal's legal fees. Not that, I'm going to cry for the Wall Street Journal. I'm sure they have plenty of money in the bank. But listen, you shouldn't be able to abuse the system of justice like this just for the PR value of being able to stand up one day and say, hey, I'm suing the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, well, you know what? You're also going to drop your own lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, I suspect, sooner rather than later.
Well, this is moving pretty quickly, not in a good direction for Donald Trump. And for those who are watching, if you'd like to follow along, please make sure to subscribe. The links to both of our channels are right here on the screen. Best way to follow along with this case in particular, as well as other legal news, and to support our work and independent media more broadly. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.